Hello, I wanted to talk a bit about this Familiars deck that I've been playing a bit recently. Kampo has been crushing with this deck. I think he top 8'd like 5 challenges in the past couple months, so I decided to try it out. I usually don't like playing this sort of version of FAMs because you have a bunch of cards in your deck that aren't very good when you're not comboing. Like the second Flicker, Sage's Row, even Seagate Oracle is a bit weak on its own. Wasn't usually a fan of drawing these because when your opponent's like trying to interact with you and killing all your flickerable creatures, these cards are really bad. But the benefit of doing this is that you don't have to have answers to everything. You can see this list doesn't play Lose Focus, it doesn't play any way to destroy enchantments, and let's see. This is a more traditional, or what some other players have been playing, with the Dawnbringer Cleric, Loose Focus, 3 Deep Analysis, 4 Modern Age, no Seagate Oracle. And this is like the control familiars, where you have to have answers to everything because you don't have a combo kill. And so there's a lot of games where, you know, if your Flicker gets exiled, it can deck you out maybe, or you need to dig your Dawnbringer Cleric to answer munitions because you can't actually combo kill them. So this is what I liked, but I've been liking the Kampo's list after I played it a bit. As far as the sideboard, I'd say like these 13 cards are basically stock, and you have 2 slots to work with. And Kampo plays Inside Out for Walls and the Mirror and Tron, and these have been pretty good. I don't think this in the 5.0 League replays we're going to watch this card came up at all, but it's very, very, very good versus walls. Being able to, for 1 mana, kill their wall and draw a card when the Familiar's out. You can just loop it with Arcanomancer. It's very, very good. So yeah, I played some leagues with this deck. I really liked it, and I had 1 league in particular that I felt had a lot of good replays, so I'm going to try to look at those and go over the matches. Okay, so here we are on the matches. I recorded this previously just to make it easier because the Magic Online replay system kind of sucks. Let's see. The first match, this hand is fine. I'd be better on the play, but I can go turn 1 or turn 2, turn 1 tap land, turn 2 Faithful, turn 3 pick it up, and then maybe Modern Age discard Deep Analysis. And they're on Gates, which is just great. Like, this matchup feels very difficult to lose. So yeah, we play the Faithful, pick up the bounce or the tap land. They go Squadron Hawk. They have Strands and a Cat in the Yard, which we don't care about. This matchup is just super good because none of their cards really do anything. Like, you have to worry about Counterspell and Guardian of the Guildpact, and that's basically it. So as long as you don't get cheesed out, you basically win. So we're just discarding Prismatic Strands. You can play Fam, Bounce Land, Snap the Hawk, and then Drifter Ephemerate. And this game is basically over. Like, there's not a whole lot they can do to come back from this. We pass. They journey probably the Drifter. Journey the Drifter. It's fine. We don't really care. The O-Ring, probably the Fam. Yep. Take 3. But we have blockers coming off with the Modern Ages, so this is fine. Replay Fam, Faithful, Flashback DA, draw some cards. And as long as we keep making land drops, it's just very difficult to lose. They go Brainstorm Squad with the Hawk, which is good for them, but I don't think it matters at this point. This game is basically over. Looks like they're holding up Counterspell, but we're going to go for Mancer Loop with Prohibit backup, and they shouldn't be able to stop that. At this point, if they go for a Journey, we can just flicker Mancer in response to the trigger. They're going to try to attack. Doesn't matter. At this point, it's just about clicking buttons. drawing some cards, gaining some life. Return flicker. At this point we can pay 1 of the blue to get a free sleight of hand, and they concede. Game 2. This hand is a mulligan. This hand is pretty weak, but it has a bounce land and a snap, so maybe we can go like bounce land on turn 2 and then turn 3 snap Mancer. If we draw like a familiar, it's really good. They play Modern Age, discard a cat, we don't care. Player bounce land. We don't have to go to cleanup because we mulliganed. They get 1 top, 1 bottom with the Preordain, and then we snap the cat, play Mancer, pick up the snap, I think? Yeah. So they have Squadron Hawk, which is good for them. It looks like they have Red Blast probably because they have Seagate up on red. So I think I decided to play the Arcane Mancer. I don't know why. I think because if they have Journey to Nowhere, I can revoke the Journey and then return the Journey with the Arcane Mancer trigger. But this play was bad against Red Blast. They just pass. Don't want lands. Just play into Seagate Oracle. Find a Faithful. We need to start gaining life because they're attacking in the air. As soon as they find their gate, we're going to start taking a lot of damage. So they brainstorm end of turn, which is kind of weird, but whatever. Attack for 3, and I imagine they're going to play a Hawk. Looks like they do. We need to start gaining life basically, or we're going to die. So we go to snap the Hawk. They dispel. We try again, and they counter. And then we just preordain and pass. Find a familiar. They're taking some damage, it's fine. Play third Hawk. So now we are just gonna slam a Drifter. It might have been better to play Deep Analysis there, since they were repping Red Blast. Now we're taking a bunch of damage, and we're dead on board if we don't do anything. They have Smashed at us for the familiar, so now we play a Mill Drifter, and if this gets killed, we die. We revoke the Modern Age. It's not a great play, but the revoke was boarded in for Journey to Nowhere, so. And they Journey the Drifter, and they can pump and attack, and we'll die. Game 3. This hand's much better than the last one. We can go Tranquil Cove, Plains Familiar, and then on turn 3, like cycle for an island, play the Modern Age, hold up Prohibit. But they have the Journey, which is fine. We go Modern Age, discard second Prohibit, pick up a Plains, and then plan to discard this the following turn. End up discarding Deep Analysis, because we found another one. They'll counter, which is totally fine. So the whole point of Deep Analysis is to get countered, so it works out. Fetch, Preordain, we see 2 flickerable creatures, it's great. They do have a gate on red, so need to be wary of that. I think I just played Deep Analysis here. No, I played Seagate Oracle. At this point, like, I could not counter back, but I just want to spend my mana, so I think this is fine. Like, I don't really care if the Seagate Oracle resolves, but getting rid of their counters is nice. So they have Foretell Behold, and I play Deep Analysis. If this gets countered, it's totally fine. Just flash it back. Play their Behold on the main phase, and pass. So they have 5 action spells, which is interesting. But they've already used 3 counter spells, so we can just pretty easily fight through those, I think. Play Faithful, land, Drifter. I imagine this gets countered. Yep, gets countered. Play Courtisar here. Looks like they found their gate, so they're gonna have a clock soon. That's fine. We get to hopefully resolve a Drifter here. Play Modern Age, they counter that, which maybe not a good play, but now we get to resolve our Drifter. And then play Faithful. And at this point it's not great, because we don't have any card draw, but Ghostly Flicker's good, Snaps are good, Ephemerate's good. We have lots of good draws. The O-Ring the Drifter, which is a mistake, because now we can just revoke that, draw 2 cards, and then at this point we're just popping off, like this game's over. Discard a cat, return a cat, Dawnbringer Cleric. But it doesn't matter. This game has been over for like 2 turns. Find him answer. Now we can return revoke, maybe? Return prohibit, it's fine. Attack with the drifters, and then we can snap one, maybe second main. Draw some cards, gain some life. Sure, replay's lagging a bit. Now we have flicker, so we can just hold this up. If they ever go for anything, we can counter or flicker our creatures. So they pump the cat. At this point, I think I block with the Seagate Oracle and then flicker Seagate Oracle Archaeomancer. Which is, it's fine if they counter it, because if the Seagate Oracle dying doesn't really matter. So they counter it. And we have another Archaeomancer. Now we just have a snap block, we just grab flicker and we can snap other creatures forever. So they're dead. Alright. Match 2. Okay, this hand is a bit slow, but we're on the play, so it's good. This is a thing that Kampo plays. He plays the Tranquil Cove. I don't usually do this because it's awkward, as you can see with the bounce lines. Because on turn 3 we're not going to be able to play Familiar and have mana up, but it's still fine. Tranquil Cove is good in this scenario where you can play the Familiar on turn 2 and then have only blue mana up, because that's often your bottleneck. Play the Chancery. I don't know why I didn't play this Period. I guess there's really no reason to, but it's fine. So they're on Affinity. Just doing Affinity things. This matchup is pretty tough, but if they don't kill us Familiar, I feel like we're really far ahead. And they decide they don't have any red mana off the lands, but they discard a Great Furnace to hand size, so I don't know what's going on there. Play Seagate Oracle, play Modern Age, discard Faithful. Makes sense. So next turn we want to go Drifter Ephemerate, probably. They're drawing cards. Spellbomb. Spellbomb's annoying, but this lets us know that they're not likely on the Luffy list, which doesn't run Rebukes in the main deck, which is really good for us. Like, Affinity without counterspells is really easy for this deck, so it's fine. Go Drifter Ephemerate with Prohibit back up, draw some cards. At this point, we can snap the Seagate Oracle for mana, probably. Yep, and then replay a Familiar, play Seagate Oracle, find a Flicker, and now we're just super far ahead. Because they never killed the Familiars, they never counted anything, they just drew cards. And at this point they need Crocland Shaman, which looks like they do have. I don't know, I feel like they should have activated that main phase, but what do I know? So at this point, if they activate Crocland Shaman like 3 times to kill these 3 creatures, we can let the first activation resolve, which kills this, and then with 1 damage marked on these guys, we can like Ephemerate this and then like flicker these 2 so they don't die. It's an option. So I kind of want to hold up mana to prevent that from happening. I Period and find a snap, and then I snap the thing, expecting them to respond, and then I can respond with Flicker and Ephemerate, but they just let their snap resolve, which is fine, I guess. I don't know. So Flicker is Moldrifter. The Moldrifter can't die to the KCS because it has flying, so I'm not worried about the Ephemerate being lost. Playing the Familiar, and now we have a Prohibit to counter the Shaman on the way back down. And we know they're not likely to play counterspells, so it should be fine. Frogma we don't care about that. So we counter the Shaman. And they have another one. Still not the end of the world. We can use Flicker to save our creatures. So, at least 2 of them. Flicker from the Drifter. So now, we're threatening the Archaeomancer loop with Ephemerate. And I feel like maybe they could have responded, but it doesn't actually matter, because we can just like Flicker Archaeomancer Island to remove damage from it. So it's fine. Maybe they could have Spellbombed here, I don't know. I feel like they didn't play this very well. At this point we have we can pay a blue to draw 2 cards. I think at this point they just conceded. I don't know, the Magic on the Line replay maybe was bugged here, not sure. But it doesn't really matter. We can Flicker to save our creature from this, and we have like a bunch of card draw, and it's gonna be pretty hard for them to win, especially when they have no counterspells. Like they can activate Spellbomb, and then we can Flicker to return Ephemerate, and then Ephemerate to return Flicker, and then like Flicker to return something else, and yeah. Alright, game 2. Alright, so we have a revoke, so we keep. You basically never want to keep a hand without land destruction or a way to find it. Let's play the Cove. Crack for black and see the game. So normally this is not how the Affinity matchup goes. Usually you will win the board game on the play and then lose the board game on the draw. Or the board game on the draw is going to be harder to win at least. But I don't know if they were trying to like cast Thoughtcast and like pass priority to me. Because you can like cast Thoughtcast and then crack the star. But I don't know. Alright. Third match. This hand's terrible. Well, maybe I can look at this. The first two hands are not very good. Like, this hand just does nothing. I have 4 flicker effects and an island and nothing to flicker. And this is part of the problem with running like a bunch of flicker effects, is that sometimes you'll draw them without creatures. So this hand's a mulligan. The second hand was also mulligan and had nothing. And then we mulligan to a 5-card hand with Snap, Drift, or Ephemerate, so we can do this on turn 3. So this nets some mana. So they're on black-white Ephemerate. We pick up the island. And then, just hope they don't have removal for the Drift Ephemerate. Like, ideally, they just pass, but they have turn 3 initiative, which is very good. So, I think we have to just snap the Paladin and then Drift Ephemerate, and then draw a bunch of cards and maybe hope to take the initiative back, but this game feels very difficult to win from here. Although this matchup is pretty good, so. We draw 2 more. The Familiars and the Snaps are really good, because now we're going to have a lot of mana. So we'll take 3. They're playing Thraben Inspector. This card is super bad versus us. So I could have let the Ephemerate stay in exile and attack for 2. I feel like it doesn't actually matter that much. Like, I'm just trying to look to combo them. I don't really care about holding the initiative too much. Obviously it's a clock, but it shouldn't matter that much. So I play Familiar with blue floating. And I can start like snapping stuff and making mana. I play the Chancery, snap, which is +3 at this point. Ephemerate, draw 2, snap, Drifter, draw 2, Sacred Oracle, finds a Faithful. And I discard Prismatic Strands and 2 lands to hand size. So they bog us, which is annoying. I respond by casting Prismatic Strands. And I name white, just because they have white creatures, but I think, as you'll see, I should have named black. They play Crypt Rats, which is annoying. And they play Dark Ritual, so they can Crypt Rats for 3, and we're going to lose our Ephemerate and our whole board. And they still have the initiative. It shouldn't have actually mattered what I flashed the Strands Bond, because they could have just done this on our upkeep. But if they actually went for that on our upkeep, it could have prohibited the Dark Ritual. So I kind of got punished for not flashing this back on black. Although, they can just do it again on their turn, so it's not like it matters that much. So we lose our Ephemerate. Play Modern Age to loot these lands away. And we have Prohibit up. They're still marching through the dungeon, but not much I can do about that. So play the Paladin we knew about. See what they flip into. And they flip into the Monarch, so now we're super far behind. We're drawing 2 cards a turn and essentially 3 cards a turn. And we loot, discard a land, flame a Drifter. So now we're like pretty close to the combo. We need like 1 more Familiar, and then if we can deploy these 5 cards, like these 4 cards plus a Familiar, we just win. But we're taking a lot of damage, so it's gonna be hard. So take 5 down to 5. I think this version of the deck doesn't run that much removal. Like, we've only seen Crypt Rats and 1 Journey, so that's definitely good versus us. But Crypt Rats is really good versus Familiars, so right, we cycle for an island on end step. Flip the Modern Age, play Familiar, and now I think I'm digging to a Familiar at this point, because then I just win. Find Brooding, keep digging, don't want either of those, play a tap land. It's not looking great, but I'm very close to winning. I should have countered this. I think I misclicked, because they can return Crypt Rats, wipe the board, and I'll die. So I think I just lose here. If I had a snap, I could like snap something and then kicker this, but I don't, so we go to game 2. Alright, run the play. That hand had no lands, that had no blue mana. That third hand had no... Let's see if we can slow this down. Magic on Blind Replay just goes through the mulligan super fast. Okay, so this hand has 2 Chanceries, no land, so I can't keep that. Second hand has 2 plains, no blue mana. This hand does nothing after mulligan. Third hand has no blue mana or white mana, so I have to mulligan this. And this third hand has Prismatic Strands, Ephemerate, Preordain, some lands. So I'm on 4 cards. So I think my idea here was I'm going to keep Bounce Land, Preordain, Ephemerate, and then try to find a Drifter off of the Preordain. We find the Drifter and a Preordain, so I have a play for next turn, and I have a plan here. Not a great plan, but it's a plan. We find Prohibit Familiar. This is really good because now I can next turn play Familiar with Prohibit backup, and then turn after that go Drifter Ephemerate off the Familiar. So we play Familiar. Say go. Block. They play Spirit Commandant. I probably shouldn't counter this, but I did. So they bog us. It's annoying, but whatever. So now we have Drifter Ephemerate. And we don't hit a land off the first one or the second one, so this is not good. And they Edict us, I sack the Familiar. So we get to draw 2 more. Draw a tap land, which is not great. Play Seagate Oracle. Play our tap land. And they have turn 5 initiative, which is good. But we're drawing a lot of cards, so it shouldn't be too bad. Attack for 2. So now I steal back the initiative, grab a land. And I play Arcane Master to pick up Ephemerate. So they play Crypt Rat, swipe the board, which is very bad. But I'm going to chump to keep the initiative. I get a Scry. I think I bought them both. I'm looking for a Familiar here. Just cycle, play another Faithful. This one just hold up Prohibit, because these Familiars can block the Paladin. And they don't have the Undercity right now, so they bog us again. We lose a bunch of nonsense. I think like 1 Ephemerate, 1 Mancer. We stash, get a treasure. So now we have Drifter Ephemerate with Prohibit backup, and they can only have 1 kill spell, so draw some cards. So now we have either Flicker or Prohibit backup. We can like Flicker the Mancer and the Familiar if they go for, or Flicker the Drifter and Familiar if they go for a kill spell. So they have another initiative creature. Forge up the other one. I'll take 5. I think I just cycle on and step here, I'm not sure. I think I held up this Prohibit in case they had like a Flicker or an Ephemerate on these guys. So I attack to grab back the initiative. I get to make a skeleton. It's not a great spot, because if this Flicker gets countered by removal, then I kind of have nothing, but at least I have the dungeon, so that's nice. Don't care about the dog. So I think I chump. No, I block with a Familiar and then Flicker. At least I get some value out of it. So they don't have a kill spell. I'll draw 2. And I have Ephemerate for end of turn, which is great. I don't know if I go for it. So they have another initiative guy. And almost for 5. And they bog us. Now I think we have 1 Flicker left in the deck and 2 Mancers. That should be fine. Draw 2 more cards. Cycle and draw 2 more cards on upkeep. No, I choose not to, so I can take back the initiative because I get to go to the throne, I think. Let's attack. Find an Arcane Mancer, which is good because I can return Ephemerate. And now I'm very close to comboing because I just need a Cure of Infinite Life with a Flicker. Just flicker these 2, but it doesn't actually matter. Like they're not killing me, so this game's over. So they figure it out and concede. Game 3. So this hand is okay. definitely keepable. This flicker's not looking great, but we have bounce land on turn 2, so it's fine. So they're on 6 cards. Find an Archaeomancer, so we can go snap Archaeomancer on turn 3 if we want to. We have to go to cleanup. Probably just discard a Faithful, yeah. And just play Crypt Nuts out, which this is very weird to me. I don't understand this, but it allows us to snap and essentially time walk them, so it's fine. Also, they don't have a lot of black mana, so the Crypt Nuts is kind of awkward. But I choose to evoke the Drifter and play the Faithful out. I want to gain some life. Maybe I could have played the Archaeomancer, I don't know. Play the Archaeomancer, return, Preordain. They Edict us twice. So I have nothing. Preordain into Ephemerate, and we don't want that. Cast down the Fam, we counter. Skyfisher is not very good here. I don't know why this card's in their deck, to be honest. I guess they have 3-mana Spectres and dogs and stuff, but whatever. So I cycle. Familiar's decent. I need just more like drifters and stuff here. So we find Archaeomancer Snap, which is great. Play the Archaeomancer, and I can return a counter. Or no, return Snap. So I didn't want them to be able to wipe the board, so I went to snap this. And they went Dark Ritual and activate for 3, which is really bad. I did not see this coming. So now I have no board. I have a Flicker in hand, and they also have nothing, sort of. But they can describe once every turn. So I don't know. I don't know who's favored here. They have really good top decks. We also have really good top decks. But yeah, it's just a battle of who can draw better. Cycle to Thin. We're bricking, they're scrying. Attack, play Thraben Inspector. Doesn't really matter. If they find an initiative creature, we're kind of hosed here, but I choose to exile the Snap, it looks like. We draw Snap, which is useless, and this is what I was sort of saying about these, like, Flicker cards aren't very good when you have nothing. So let's try again. Put one on the top. And we are looking dead. But they don't have that much pressure, so. We draw Ephemerate, and again, this is the same problem where you have a bunch of Flicker effects and nothing to do. They scry again on upkeep. Bottom it. Attack for 4. Another Inspector. So draw Drifter. I imagine this Ephemerate's going to get countered by a kill spell, but maybe not. So I think I go for a Snap so that if they remove this in response, I can Ephemerate in response. Yeah. This is more mana efficient. The Ephemerate is more mana efficient than the Snap. So now I play the Modern Age, discard Prismatic Strands, I think. Yep. And now, like, we're sort of in the game, because we get to draw 2 more on upkeep if they don't have a removal spell, or if they don't want to flashback the Trainer's Edict. They do, I think. Yep, and then we snap. So we get to lose our Ephemerate, which is annoying, but we get to keep our Drifter. Going down super low, down to 2. So we have draw Fam, discard the Flicker, choose to put the Archaeomancer on top, and then I think I evoke this Drifter to save mana, so I can draw the Mancer, pick up Flicker, and then like evoke this and Flicker them both maybe. Choose a Preordain first. This is good, because now that I have an Ephemerate, I can go like pick up Snap, Ephemerate, or pick up Flicker, like evoke, Flicker them both or something. But I just choose to grab Prohibit, which is safer, because if this Ephemerate loop starts working, then I'll just win. So they Edict, I Prohibit, they have 1 card. I choose to Flicker, it's a bit risky, but return Flicker. And now we have to flashback Prismatic Strands on white to live. They have Journey, so it's not a great spot. So I choose to evoke a Drifter. I draw 2 cards, and then what I want to do is flicker the Drifter and the Mire, and I'll put Archaeomancer on top and then draw 2 cards. And then I can play the Arcane-Mancer, pick up Ephemerate, return Prohibit, and I should be good to go. Yep, put the guy on top, draw some cards. Play Arcane-Mancer, return Ephemerate, cycle, Ephemerate, return Prohibit. They scry, so their hand is not very good. That's what this means. We're at 5, so not super close to dying. They pass. So I think we just win here if they don't have anything. Just return Flicker. Now we can evoke this, flicker these two. And if I ever find a familiar, I have infinite life, which I don't. Looks like I draw 2 more. Magic Online is bugging out. I think they conceded here. For some reason, Magic Online is, the replays are not working super well. I think I try to figure out what's going on here. Yep, they concede. Alright. Next match. This hand is not very good. The first hand had an island and no other lands from Mulligan. This hand is okay. I'm just going to play an Ash Branch on turn 1, cycle this on end step, and then untap, float a colorless, and then cycle this off of the Chancery. So it's a bit slow, but should work. And they're on red. Start with Swift Spear because that's what happens when you play against a red deck. They always start with Swift Spear. Proceed with the plan. The Faithful's a good pickup. Next turn I can go snap Arcane-Mancer, pick up snap. And they choose to just fire burn spells at our face, which is certainly a play. And they play Needle Drop, which means they're playing traditional burn, which is a really good matchup for us. Because we don't have to deal with all the creatures, we can just counter the burn spells. So I made 3 mana, play Preordain. I don't know if this was right, but I want to start gaining life off the Faithful. Bottom 2 lands, find a snap. So next turn I can play a Mancer and pick up a Preordain. I don't know. I wonder if I block here. I don't think I do. Yeah, I don't block, because if they have a burn spell, they can destroy the Faithful. I choose to bounce the Swift Spear to save some life. I don't know if that's correct. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. Pick up Preordain. So now I have a blocker for this 1/1, but they have a Swift Spear in hand, so it's pretty decent. Go ahead and burn the Arcane-Mancer and Fire Blast the Faithful. I think they missed their attack here. No, yeah, they missed an attack here, which probably saves us. So we see 2 lands, bottom both, Preordain again. Deep Analysis Mulldrifter is decent, but because I can snap and then Deep Analysis, which is not great. I'm still 11. I don't have any blockers. Go to 8, go to 7, go to 6. Not a great spot. Play Mulldrifter, draw some cards. And this is pretty good. Since next turn we can go Faithful, Modern Age, Evoke to gain 2 life and make a blocker. And they have 1 land because they use Fire Blast. So they discard Fire Blast to the Blood, because they have another one. So now we go to 1. So we would definitely be dead if they attacked correctly. So you play Faithful, evoke a Drifter, still with our land drop remaining. Draw 2 cards, draw 2 more. And now we find a counter, so we basically just win here. Because all their cards they could play cost 2 or less. And we can just start gaining a bunch of life here. It shouldn't really matter what we do here. And they concede. Alright, game 2. So we get to board in 4 Hydroblasts, which is good. They have a Swift Spear again on turn 1, as they always do. So this hand is a bit slow, but I get to play a Familiar on turn 2, Familiar on turn 3, and then maybe get to use that mana for something. Draw another Familiar, not great. They cycle Forgotten Cave, which is, means their hand is really bad. They have no burn spells, I feel like, because they would have just burned this. So I choose to play, this is incorrect sequencing. I should have held the Sash Brands, because I wanted to go Modern Age and then play Familiar, and the next turn I can play Chancery and return this to my hand, but I sequenced slightly wrong. It doesn't really matter, but they counter the Modern Age, which you should not be playing Red Elemental Blast in your burn deck, but here we are. It's fine. We play a Familiar, say go. And it's going to be incredibly difficult for them to win. They have Flame Rift, which is funny. No attacks. So we can just play Mole Drifter and then return the land. And we're still at 15 on turn 5, so this is pretty easy. Straightforward game. Find a Faithful, it's good. And cycle, play the land. And now, since we have double Familiar, we can evoke this and flicker for 1 mana, but they have the counter, which it doesn't really matter that much. They're still super far ahead. And this is what happens when you have these Red Elemental Blasts sitting in your hand, is that you can't actually be proactive and put on a clock. They have some burn spells. I guess they had Skewers probably in their hand that were turned off because they didn't have Spectacle. So I think I block and flicker. Yep, so you get to draw some cards. I stacked this wrong. You should stack the Seagate Oracle under the Mole Drifter. But I find Prismatic Strands off this. I think they concede at this point, I'm not sure. But yeah, you should draw 2 cards before you use your Sleight of Hand, because you get to look at 2 cards before you make your decision. Alright, and they concede. But it doesn't matter. We were going to win the game. Alright, on to the last match. So this hand is a bit slow, but it's good. We're on the play with a bounce land, which is always where you want to be. And they play an island, so this could be either mono blue or it could be blue black, probably. And I think mono blue usually leads with a creature, so it's probably blue black, which is not a good matchup. But let's see. Preordain. You find a land, find a Strands. I think we top both. Because Strands is good versus either mono blue or blue black, and they're blue black. Seagate Oracle, we find a Flicker. It's not good yet, but... And both of their Thought Scours have milled no spells, so I'm just kind of assuming they have some creatures in their hand they can't cast. They counter the Seagate Oracle, which is totally fine. I'm just kind of sandbagging this Familiar because I'd rather get value out of it than just play it into a counterspell. At this point, I think I played into a counterspell just to spend my mana efficiently. Play Preordain first to play around Spell Pierce. Find a Drifter and a land. And they counter it. Yep. So now they've used 2 of their counters, and we have two Mole Drifters, so... They play a Terror and an Angler, which is a bit awkward, because if they play 2 Terrors or 2 Anglers, I could cast Prismatic Strands and fog them both, but in this case I can't do that. They mill, a tap. Get it for 10. We don't block. There's no reason to block. Play another Angler. And now I'm looking for a snap, I think. Because you can snap the Anglers. Sager Denizen is not good here, but I played anyways just as a blocker and some life. Play Brainstorm. And they pass. So I imagine they probably have a mill spell, but they're just saving it. They attack for 15, we don't block, go to 2. They can't have double fang, so I feel like not blocking there is fine. And then I respond to the Archaeologist trigger with a Flicker on the Drifter and the Seagate Oracle, which I think is okay. I imagine this is going to get Spell Pierced, but then I can resolve this, so I think it's fine. Obviously they can't spell pierce the Drifter, but here we play the Drifter. At this point, like, I'm trying to race them because I really have no other option. I have this Strands that I can choose black on, and then try to attack in the air and like jump block this every turn. Which is not great, but I do get to mill myself for 2, which is nice. And I hit a deep analysis off the mill, so that's good. And I have an Ephemerate. We try to race them. I really like trying to race this deck because they play a bunch of deep analysis, and they play Snuff Out, which costs them life. Play another Brainstorm. They never were able to clear the other Brainstorm, but we will line up blocks in case they counter the Strands. Choose black, it resolves, go to 1. Play another Angler. We have a Seagate Oracle, which is decent here because he can trump block. Mill ourselves. I should probably be milling myself before I use the Seagate Oracle, but discard Deep Analysis, which is not great because we're at 5, but I just want to protect the Strands flashback with the Prohibit. So they go to 7, play Brainstorm, let it resolve. I could counter the Brainstorm, might have been good. They attack. I start by flashing back Strands to see if I need to line up blocks. They counter. I counter back. They could have Spell Piercer, which would be not good. They do. So now I'm going to have to block with a bunch of guys. So I can take 1 hit. So I block, Ephemerate, mill myself, grab a snap, milled over the mire, which is not good, but I don't think the game's going to go long enough for that to matter. Sleight of Hand, take a Familiar. At this point, I feel like the Familiar's not doing anything. I have like a ton of mana, so my plan is just to Faithful and then try to race them in the air, because I'll attack for 4. This is a 2-turn clock. And if I can just like jump block a bunch of times, they will need to find kill spells for the Drifters. So we attack. Second main, Faithful, snap an Angler. I could be like snapping my Drifters maybe better. But I think I plan to block with the Seagate Oracle and then snap the Seagate Oracle. But they're dead on board if they don't have kill spells, so. Line up some blocks. Snap the Seagate Oracle. They counter it. Nope, they snuff out the Drifter. So they want to die. That makes sense. So we go to 3. Play another Terror. It's definitely a close game. So we draw a Drifter, which is nice, because this is another Trump Blocker. So now I have 2 Trump Blockers. And they're going to die in the air. We have a lot of Trump Blockers, actually. Now we play Mancer, return an Ephemerate. And despite them countering a lot of spells and beating us for 10 every turn, we should be able to just race them in the air. None of this matters if they don't have fangs. And they don't. Alright, last game. Throw in the draw. This hand is slow, but it's decent. We have Familiar and Modern Age and Strands to discard. So. Then step we cycle for a Plains. Then I have the decision, I could either play the Familiar or the Modern Age here. And if I play the Modern Age, they can Spell Pierce it. But if I play the Familiar, they can just kill it, and I really need this to cast the rest of my spells. So I play the Familiar and just hope they don't have a Snuff Out. And they don't have a Snuff Out, and they also don't have a Mental Note. I don't know why they didn't do this on their own end step. This is very confusing to me, but I don't know. Or on our end step, I mean. So they mill a bunch of cards, play an Angler, they have a Rotten Reunion, which is kind of annoying, but it's fine. So we go Faithful, Preordain, play a Bounce Land. I'm not feeling too bad about this game, because if I find a snap, I can just snap this, and then they're kind of completely reset. But they have a bunch of graveyard hate, so could be annoying. I don't really want to discard the Strands because they're just gonna fire off the Spell Bomb or the Rotten Union, and I don't want that to happen. So play some Modern Ages, do some looting, and they go for an end step Spell Bomb. So I guess their hand is really bad because I feel like you probably don't want to play that unless you have to, or use that unless you have to. They tap out for Monarch, which is pretty good because they can block the Seagate Oracle. So I'm still looking for a snap, I think. Play Chancery, evoke a Drifter, hoping to draw Ephemerate. We did not draw Ephemerate, but we can flicker these two. And they concede, I guess. I feel like we're probably going to win this game because we can attack with the Drifter in the air and take the Monarchy, and we have lots of gas. So, and if they had a kill spell, they would have already used it on the Familiar. So, yep, that's the league.